Hello, my loves. I am streaming on several platforms, so if you see me looking in different directions, that is why. I am on TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Let me know where you are watching from. I'm currently in the UP of Michigan, and it is snowing. And I have been asking the universe for more snow because we need like 20 feet. And they've delivered. It's been snowing pretty steadily all day. I think I can see out of these things now. Dallas. I love Texas. Freaking love Texas. Every part of Texas. I was actually going to permanently live there, but I could not pick a part of Texas that I loved more because there's so many. So many. So many places. Oh. So today is going to be kind of a different live. I know some of you see me come on here and do readings from time to time. I am in the UP of Michigan. It's like the snow capital of the United States, honestly, but we haven't had much snow. I'm up here for the winter. So this is going to be a little bit different live than I normally do. Normally, especially those on TikTok, usually see me come on to do readings. And today we're not really doing readings, but I am going to offer group support on mentorship. So if you are struggling with something, you can let me know what it is. You can even go live with me if you want. But it is all in support of something that I am launching. And so for those of you who are brand new to me, who've never seen me before, thank you for the follow, Anna. I am Johanna Burkhardt. I'm a multidimensional channel teacher and healer. West Palm Beach. Yeah, I'm from San Diego, so I normally love the 75-degree weather. In the summertime, Florida gets pretty freaking hot, though. Happy New Year to you as well. Hey, all right, we're starting to get some people on. Again, if you see me cross-looking, I'm just on multiple platforms. I'm trying to reach multiple people at the same time. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it but I haven't figured that out yet. But today what I'm doing is we're going to talk about group mentorship and support, because that is something that I've been hearing from a lot of people lately, is they're not really looking necessarily. The thing they're looking for the most is support. And one of the things that the guides have been talking about pretty regularly is what we need to focus on moving forward. For those who didn't listen to my podcast where I did a little bit of an energy update on what 2024 was going to look like, and kind of the themes that we need to pay attention to, the biggest thing that the guides said was that we need to believe in ourselves. We need to have faith in ourselves. Like, number one, belief and faith in oneself has to be priority. And it's because we're here to this time is where we master our uncertainty, where we literally master uncertainty. And so when things are uncertain, that means you are putting your faith in yourself. Some people would say you're putting faith in God, and you can say that, or faith in the universe, but those are synonymous, right? You are an aspect of God. You are an aspect of the universe. This is a dualistic experience. And so what you really need to do is believe in yourself and have faith in yourself. Because when we have what we call false security, and there's nothing wrong with this, please don't feel like you have to go quit your job or leave your relationship. That's not what it's about. But when we have false security, or we feel like we need security in order to feel safe, or we need to control a situation in order to feel safe, then we're not believing and having faith in ourselves. So if you need a 9-to-5 job, or a relationship, a marriage, or your children or whatever it is in order to feel safe, that's a dependency. And you're not having faith in you. You're not having belief in you. And so we have to kind of shift that to where if you were to let everything go, kind of like what I did, like I had a crash course in this, right? So for those who don't know, my most recent story is, in the beginning of 2022, 2 years after I divorced my husband, I put everything I owned in storage. I sold a lot of it, but I put the rest of it in storage, and I hit the road. And became a nomad. Had no idea where I was going and what I was going to do. All the plans that I tried to make fell through with any like hopes of security. And ironically, I started my journey up here in the UP. And then I've been through 26 states ever since. And I never had a nest egg in the bank to support things that could have gone wrong, like needing a new tire or when I needed a new car. Literally the moment I drove into Texas, my transmission blew and the car wasn't worth enough to buy a new one, or to buy it, like replace the transmission. It wasn't worth it. So I ended up having to buy a new car. Like I didn't have a bank account full of reserves to travel that way. I literally had to live in faith that whatever happened, whatever came my way, I would figure it out and I would be supported in that. And there was some times where it was really, really hard and challenging because of the circumstances I was in. But it always worked out. It didn't always work out the way that I thought, right? That's an expectation. That's the ego wanting to control. But it always worked out. And so I literally built a bank of evidence that showed me that as long as I believed and had faith in myself, that everything would work out. And I might not always know how to navigate whatever that circumstance is, but I would be led to someone who could help, right? Or I would figure it out. And I did. And so when we talk about 2024 and beyond, that's the thing that the guides are constantly talk about. We've been in uncertainty since 2020, really. I mean, if you look at it, the things that have been going on, they're very uncertain. We didn't know what was going to happen next. And at some level, we still don't. We're always in a state of uncertainty. But we're going to have a lot of uncertainty in the things that we humans deem our security. And this is where we're going to have uncertainty this year as we go through there's more deconstruction, but this is a transition year. So the transition year means that we are going to be starting the flip to creating a more sustainable, loving, beautiful reality. And anytime we're going through that flip, there's always last ditch efforts of scarcity and fear put out. There's a lot of things that have to completely demolish and break down or go away so that the new thing can start to be built. And so we're going to be experiencing a lot of uncertainty this year. It's not going to be, in my opinion, and I'm not an astrologer, so I'm not basing it upon anything other than what the guides have given me. I am not, that's all that I'm basing this on. I don't see it as a year, I think this year is going to be better than the years prior. I think there's going to be more hope, but there's going to be a lot of loss and a lot of uncertainty on multiple levels. And so people are going to be grasping on to things to feel secure, and those things are just going to continue to be removed because we need to believe in ourselves. We need to be secure within ourselves. And so a lot of the ways that we do that is when we want to change our personal reality, we change our personality, right? We have to embody that frequency. We have to learn to feel safe inside of us. So I had to learn how to feel safe even if I didn't have any money. I had to learn to feel safe even if I had nobody around me. Literally, I was solo traveling. So there was times where I had no friends, no family, no support if something went wrong. I had to not only learn to feel safe, but to make the best of whatever situation and trust that it was happening for me. It was happening for a reason. What is this showing me? I had to learn so many things, but trial by fire, honestly, but that's just the way that I roll. I needed to hear this overdue to file for divorce for fear of how it will impact my kids and starting my own business versus staying in corporate America. Yeah. From personal experience, Melanie, your kids are always better off with two happy parents instead of two parents that are not happy trying to stay together, because kids are so intuitive and they know. Like my kids, I mean, when I was a kid, I always knew. My parents didn't tell me what was going on, but I always knew. And when they told me different, when they tried to hide it or cover it up, they just made me doubt my own intuition. So with my kids, I was very open. And me and my ex actually were very amicable on our split. And I made sure that my kids were taken care of the way that they needed to be, but they were also older. I don't know how old your kids are. But so depending on how, it doesn't really matter how old your kids are, they're going to be happier with two happy parents. And so we think, as especially as moms and as women, we think that if we choose ourselves and we put our needs and wants up in the top priority as everyone else, that there's something wrong with us, right? We're kind of conditioned that way. And that kind of came from the boomer generation. But I'll tell you, I used to want a man to rescue me. I used to want a man to choose me. I used to want my kids to choose me. Everyone, I always gave what I wanted to receive. You know, that saying, treat others how you want to be treated. That's bullshit. It's bullshit. You treat yourself the way that you want to be treated. You teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourselves. And so while I got backlash for all the moves that I have made over the last 8 years and all the things that I have chosen for myself, it's only ever been from people who were not happy in their own life or who were benefiting from me choosing them over myself. You know what I mean? And so when you think of even those words, selfish or self-centered, are you supposed to be someone else-ish? Are you supposed to be centered in somebody else? No. We can balance that, obviously, by considering other people. That is a respectful and emotionally intelligent thing to do. But if it doesn't work for us, if it doesn't feel good for us, and we do it anyway to please somebody else, we're self-abandoning. And so my children grew up watching me self-abandon. And if there was one thing that I wish I could do differently in life, it's that. I wish that I could have shown them that my desires and my needs and what lit me up was just as important as what they went through. Hi, Corey. I quit my job. I quit my 21-year job mid 2020. It was a big risk and a huge gamble for my husband and I financially. We've used the credit cards, but overall, it was the best decision I've ever made. Yeah, good for you. Congratulations. Congratulations, because, sometimes you just got to jump, but you're the only one who will ever know that. We're each individually, nobody can convince you or tell you it's time. It's a matter of you being ready. And here's the thing that's coming in right now. The opportunity to do something would not be presented to you, and it would not resonate with you if you were not ready for it. Oftentimes the thing that makes us doubt is fear, right? We see that, but we think, oh, who am I to do this big thing? Or how is it going to work out? Or in your case, that security, that false security, because it really is false. We could lose a spouse tomorrow. We could lose our jobs tomorrow if we were in corporate. Everything can go away. We've witnessed that over the last 3 years, how things just shut down, things change that we have no control over. And so there really is no real security in any of those things. It's just where we've placed our power. It feels selfish, and the comfort of the known is easier than the fear of what will come. That is called the comfort cage. That is the comfort cage. And oftentimes we don't move out of that until the fear of staying the same outweighs the fear of change. And really what you want to remind yourself of is you're not afraid of something. It's just uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. What gave you the push to fight? Oh, that's easy. I developed stage 3 adrenal fatigue. Yeah. stage 3 adrenal fatigue. So in 2015, my world got flipped upside down, and everything that could go wrong in my life went wrong. And at that time, I was married, and I looked to my spouse, and I had just come home. My father was in his mid-50s. He was my whole life. He was given a 4-month sentence of death, basically. He had 4 months to live. I never even knew he was sick. It happened all very quickly. So I spent 3 weeks in San Diego, selling my childhood home, retiring my father, taking care of someone who wasn't mentally all the way there, like barely sleeping. I was in the middle of planning I was already legally married, but we were in the middle of planning our actual physical wedding. We were in the middle of building a house. Like, we had a million things going on. And I came home to him. We were staying on a temporary house on one of the neighboring islands. At the time, I lived in North Carolina on the coast and the Outer Banks. And I looked at him and I said, I can't do this. And I just started to break. And I started to just let go of all of it, because I had been living in fight or flight for 3 weeks, just trying to get everything done. And I came home and I thought, okay, I can let go, right? I can just feel. And I started to break down, and he looked at me and he said, stop. He said, you're the rock of this family. You're not allowed to break down. Like, you can't break. I can't do this. And in that moment, I shoved every emotion and every need that I had down. And I get chills just saying this. I completely abandoned myself, and I pushed through, and I took care of my father, and I planned the wedding, and we restructured the loan because I lost my corporate job, so that we could continue building our house. And I just kept going. And then after my dad died 3 days before Thanksgiving, within a couple of months, every memory of suppressed trauma, everything that I could ever feel, it all came back all at once, and it literally took me down. And I struggled for the next 4 years in my business, in life, and everything, just trying to push through until it literally broke me. And I kept coming to my husband at the time and saying, I need help. I need support. I need financial support. I need this. I was the breadwinner at that time. I need you to pick up the slack. I need help. I kept asking for my needs, and not only were they not being met, but hi, Rochelle. Or Rachel, I don't know why I said Rochelle. I literally was asking for my needs. Like, it was life or death kind of thing. And I just witnessed that instead of him coming in to help me and to support me the way that I had always done to him, he got a second job and just disappeared. Like, he just never was around anymore. And when I did need him, he just would play video games or shut down or get frustrated or whatever. And to the point to where I was so isolated while living with somebody else that I just emotionally started healing. Like, I emotionally left him in 2018. And then come 2020, I just said, I can't do this anymore. There's no point of us even cohabitating anymore, like, at all. Oh, because it's spelled. Yeah, I just never noticed that, Rachel. I was like, you answer this. I answer to everything too. And people always say, how do you say your name? Johanna. And they'll still say my name wrong. But anyway, that's what happened. And it needed to happen. I'm not angry with him. We're still friends. It was a lesson. It was a really hard lesson, because it showed me that my whole life I've been choosing other people. I have been pushing through and people pleasing and being what everybody wanted me to be. And when I finally was like, I'm going to just be who I am. I'm going to own my weirdness. I'm going to own who I am, my bubbliness. Like, I'm a goofball. I'm intense. I have big energy. I've heard that I'm intimidating by people. And I'm like, no, you're intimidated. It's not me. I'm just a very strong energy, a big, strong presence. And I realized, I learned the hard way that I was picking relationships that were weaker than me to feel safe because I was abused and I had a bad childhood and I had all these things happen. And what I was really craving was an alpha, a divine alpha, someone who would lead me, who would challenge me, who was motivated, who wanted to do amazing things in this world and didn't just want to be a couch potato. And, you know, who actually wanted to be a change in this world. And I just realized that I had not only completely outgrew him, but I deserved better than him. And he found someone who's amazing for him, right? Whose cup he can fill. My cup's too big. he can't fill my cup. Yeah, it's hard when you're choosing other people, you know? And I always tell people the abandonment wound starts with you abandoning you. Like that's what happens. We abandon ourselves. And so that's what started me. And then I lived down the street from him for a couple of years until I was like, my kids are older, they have their own lives, they're not really in the needing mom around as much, you know. My daughter's 26, my son is now 17. And so I looked at them both and said, guess what, I'm not happy on North Carolina, never really have been for the 9 years that I lived there, and I don't know where I want to live. And so I put everything in storage and took off and fell in love with every part of Texas. Every part of Texas. I could never figure out what area I like Fort Worth the most, I think, that area. But honestly, I just love Texas. So I spent the most time there, and then I went back home to San Diego for a while. But I'm getting closer to where it's time to plant my roots for sure. But I literally had no reserves. People thought I was crazy. They're like, how are you going to do this? How are you going to make money? I'm like, well, I work for myself. So, you know, but again, I didn't have a reserved. I had no security. I have no parents to back me up. I have no siblings who could back me up. I had no friends other than my best friend where I am now that could help me if something went wrong. I had no backup of anything. And then a couple of months ago, September of last year, I went back to North Carolina one more time for my son's 17th birthday. And I got rid of the rest of my storage unit. I have no ties to North Carolina anymore. I literally got rid of the last of my security blankets. And so I was literally on my own, but it was hard. My journey was not easy, but like I said, it was uncertainty through trial by fire. And while I still have moments where things can get to me or I get in a triggered state, for the most part, there's so much. I have practiced so much of believing in myself and having faith in myself and knowing that I can survive anything and I can get through anything because I believe I can. That's what's been the change. And it changed the men that I attracted in too. Like I took a few years off where I didn't date at all because I wanted to face myself and I wanted to look in the mirror and I wanted to say like, hey, where do I need to make adjustments in my life to be a better partner? First to myself and then to somebody else. Like, how can I love? Like, this is the fourth frequency of my modality. It says, I love you anyway. But it was also to remind me, like, it doesn't matter if my business is doing good or financially or not. It doesn't matter if I gain 10 pounds or I don't. It doesn't matter what's going on. I get to love me in that state unconditionally. And that's it. And once I put all my focus on me and loving me and treating me with the respect and compassion and grace and giving myself a fucking break, that's when I started to attract men who actually, not that I want someone to take care of me, but who would want to take care of me, who would want to be emotionally there for me, who would want to support me, who would want to stand up for me, who would have my fucking back, who would be like, no, I want someone who will stand next to me and go to war with me. Like it's us against the problem. It's never a problem in between us, So that's what I want and deserve. 32-year marriage was a codependence masterclass. How do I reverse that? Don't be dependent on anything anymore. You have to become interdependent. You have to switch everything and go, I don't need anybody else, and I don't want anybody to need me. That's it right there too. Sometimes we find our value by being needed, by being the person who rescues because we secretly want to be rescued, or being the one that takes care of everybody because we secretly want to be taken care of. Some of us not so secretly, right? We usually give what we want to get. But if we start giving to ourselves what we want to get, then we're not dependent upon anybody else. Does that mean you won't ever have it outside of you? No, because as long as you become that, right, and embody that frequency, then that's going to show up outside of you as well. And that takes time, right? It doesn't happen overnight. But this is the kind of things that people have been saying that they hired, is this kind of support where we talk to each other. So private mentorship is usually the thing that I love to do the most, because it's developing a safe, sacred relationship between two people. And shame is healed when stories are revealed in safe places. And so when you feel safe to vulnerably share something that maybe you're ashamed to say out loud, or you're ashamed to admit, or you're embarrassed that you did, like there's a lot of stories in my partnerships going back, where and one of the things I still have a twinge of something on is when I'm dating and someone asks me, like, if I've been married, and I have to say I've been married 3 times. And to me, that's my own red flag. And I think, no, it's not a red flag, because it took 3 times for me to learn what I was doing to myself. It took me 3 times to learn my pattern, that I put my value, I placed my worth on somebody needing me instead of an equality. And I learned that this time. So it took 3 times. It's just what it is, But that's why I love private mentorship, because we develop this safe, healing relationship of vulnerability. And my private mentorship is not cheap. It's $4,000, and it's 6 months of us together. Yes. But I wanted to create something in the middle of a single one-off session and the private mentorship. And one of the things that I've seen repeatedly is when I bring a group of women together and we collaborate in a safe mentorship space, these women, usually the women that all come together that are drawn to it, like when I've done programs in the past, there's always they each have that same theme running together, or they complement each other. And so I wanted to be able to create a group mentorship experience with having all the benefits of private mentorship. So having the private chat access to me when you need help, or when you want to share your words of wisdom, or your wins. You want someone. How many people have had something amazing happen in their life, but they're not allowed to share that because someone's going to be like, who do you think you are? Or they're going to try to one up you. You need people who are going to fucking cheer you on. You need people who are going to go, yes, girl, keep going. That's amazing. Let's do it together. So, sorry, I thought I saw something. And so, bye, Rachel. I wanted to create that environment. And so while this live, I'm going to continue what I'm doing right now, which is supporting anybody who needs support and wants to share or guidance or anything. We're going to do that today. But I also wanted to extend that opportunity and say, if you want a more intimate mentorship, where we're going to spend 3 months together, we're going to have a call every other Thursday and one Saturday a month, where we can share what's coming up for ourselves. We can listen to what our guides have to say for each individual person. We have means of support. You have access to all of my content. If there's something you need, I will give you access to a particular course or transmission or meditation. If you want that level of support without the price of private mentorship, this might be something for you. And the things that the guides are already saying that we're going to talk about in there, just because this isn't a course or anything, but some of the themes that we're going to be coming up, and this is how you'll know if it's for you, is if you're ready to to change your personal reality. If you're ready to be the person you know you're capable of being, but maybe you need the support and the structure and the guidance and the push and the motivation to change your personality, to embody those ways of being, and to maybe even get help on creating that structure, who want to believe in themselves, trust themselves, have faith in themselves while being supported, and who can a safe place for you to come when there's something triggering you in your life or something bad going on in your life. You need help, or you feel like you're going into a spiral, or you're triggered, and you want that unconditional loving support of, this is a safe place where I'm not going to be judged. I'm going to be helped. I'm going to be held. I'm going to be seen. I'm going to be heard, where you can practice vulnerability and opening your heart. This is what I want to create. And so I'm calling it Collaborative Soul, and it's all linked in my profile for anyone who wants to look at it. But that's why I'm on today, is to share that experience, and also to continue to show up for you guys on here and see, how I can be of support of you in this moment while I'm on here. And I love the conversations that we've already had. They're perfect, because this is exactly the kind of vibe that we're doing. Because I had it when I chose to walk away from my marriage. I had a mentor at that time. It was only the second time in my career that I've hired a mentor. But I needed that support. I needed the reflection back that I could do this, that I could be who I knew I was capable of being. And I just needed that little extra support and push while I practiced it. Because I always knew in my soul, like I was just talking to my best friend about this a little while ago. Like sometimes it can feel fake, or, that whole fake it till you make it, acting a different way. The difference is when you know deep down that you're capable of these things, when you know deep down that you are this person, and you just you just spent 20, 30 years being what everybody else wants you to be, it gets really challenging. You kind of go, who am I to be this way? It doesn't feel right. And it's not that it's because you don't know it. It's just, it's uncomfortable because it's repetition, right? It's muscle memory. For 35 years, I was a massive people pleaser, and I changed who I was and how I interacted with the world. I altered my personality, how I spoke, how I dressed, how I did things for different people, so that I didn't rock the boat, or so that I could be accepted, or so that I would be loved or chosen. And when I stopped doing that, I was like, I don't know who I am. I had all these identities, right? I had to figure out who I was without being a mom. Who am I if I'm not a mom? Because all of our kids are going to grow up. All of our kids are going to leave the nest. So who am I if I'm not a mom? Who am I if I'm not a wife? Who am I if I'm not a business owner? Who am I if I don't have a big friends group anymore? Who am I if I don't have a home and I'm nomadic? Who am I with all these things? Because we put so much energy and power into these identities, and it's not who we truly are. And so one thing that for me that I experienced is, wherever I had an identity attached to something that was not serving me anymore, it would slowly start being ripped away from me. They ripped away my money. I had so much money. Had all these things, right? That all got taken away. My relationships got taken away. My kids chose to stay with dad when we separated. So I all of a sudden, here I was for the first time in 2020, right? I was 41 years old. I wasn't even quite 41 yet, but here I was in my own place by myself with my cat. And I'm like, right now, I'm not an active mother. My kids don't live with me. I don't have a husband anymore. I am not in San Diego where all my friends are. I never really made friends in North Carolina. So I literally had no choice but to sit with myself and face myself and go, who am I? And I didn't know. So I had to say, well, who do I want to be? If I could be anybody in the world, what would I want to be? How would I show up? What would that look like? What would my everyday look like? How would I dress? How would I wear my hair? How would I interact with the world? And I slowly just stopped doing anything that I didn't want to do and saying no to people I didn't want, that I wanted to say no to, and yes to people I wanted to say yes to. And if I feared it, I ran towards it. If I had fear of it, I literally ran towards it, because I was like, I don't want to be afraid of anything anymore. I don't, because I'm a freaking amazing human being. And I know I'm capable of doing anything and all of these things on my own. So why not? Like, if it, and honestly, I was in San Diego and my best friend was like, please come up here for the winter. Please come up here for the winter. Please come up here for the winter. And there's opportunity up here. Like, I was like, well, if I come up here in the winter, it's going to be snowing. I'm not going to, in San Diego, I can always, the weather's always good most of the time. And I'm always busy doing things. If I come up here, I'm going to be a little bit isolated again. Maybe I'll write my book. Maybe I can finally do these things. So there was opportunity to further advance my career, my business, writing another book, all those things. But I was afraid. Afraid of not having a big bunch of friends to go hang out with, afraid of not being able to get outdoors every day because of the snow. And I was like, I am afraid of this, so I need to go towards this. I need to go towards it. Self-projecting that you are so great all the while with so much personal loss. Yeah. Self-projecting that you are so great. But that's the thing. Like, even if we have a lot of loss, even if our circumstances are shit and our life doesn't look that grand, does that mean that you're not a great person? No. Does that mean that you're not amazing or special or worthy? No. You are those things inherently. You are worthy and special and unique and valuable, all the things inherently. There's no transactional anything about it. You are born worthy. You are born special. You are born unique. And it's just a matter of us believing it, staying in it. My podcast that came out today, the episode that came out today, it was 6 messages from the guides that have the potential to change your life. And one of them was when you're seeking validation, the thing that you're seeking validation on is something that you already believe about yourself. So you're seeking validation because you're like, I know this, but I need someone to prove it to me. And so the message was like, whatever you're seeking validation on, that should trigger you to remember that you already think that about yourself. So if you already think that about yourself, why do you need it to be validated? It's just because you don't believe you. Because what happened? As a child, you believed things, you knew things, you felt things, and other people were like, no, that's not true. Why? Because they didn't want you to be right. They didn't want you to be right. Excuse me. Cosmic Blonde. My podcast is called Cosmic Blonde. Excuse me. I swallowed air wrong, apparently. Oh, Rachel said, 3 just means you're starting a whole new ball game. Yeah. Well, everything in my life happened in 3s. Everything in my life happens in 3s. It made me wonder, will I ever get married again? And people ask me that since I've been married 3 times. And I was like, I would. I don't need to, but I would. I like the idea of marriage. But I don't believe, I know there's a lot of people that believe that, again, back to the boomer generation where you get married and that's the person that's death to you part. I think it's, you get married and you either grow together or you grow apart. So it's best to find somebody that is also invested. And this is something that I look for now in the dating world, is someone who is invested in their own personal development. invested in their own growth. Like they're going to do the work to be a better person for themselves, and I'm going to do the work to be a better person for myself, and we're going to grow together. Because I'm not going to be anybody's mama ever again. I'm not a rehab for men. It's not happening anymore. And that's what I've done in the past, but that was something I chose, even if it was subconscious. I chose it because it benefited me at some level, right? Childhood trauma, man. But the name of the game moving forward is, if there's anything you take away from this, whether you work with me or with someone else, doesn't matter. It's what you feel called to do. But learn to believe in yourself. Learn to have faith in yourself. Learn to trust yourself. So much so that you get the intuitive knowing to do something wild and crazy. But other people, let's rephrase this, that other people are going to think is wild and crazy. And you don't care because you know that you can do it. Do you know how many people came up to me and were like, you've been through 26 states by yourself? You drove all over the country and stayed in random places by yourself? Yeah. Am I supposed to have to do that with someone else? Well, weren't you afraid? And I was like, no, actually. Isn't that crazy? I had no fear. I slept at truck stops, which was actually one of the safest places I ever felt comfortable in my car. I camped on Magnolia Beach in Texas for 2 weeks. Not the greatest beach, but some beautiful sunsets. I camped off grid in some lakes in the mountain country of Texas. I stayed in Airbnbs. I stayed in a VRBO with a friend in Corpus Christi. But most of the time I house sat. So I would pick a house sit. I would apply for a house sit in one state and around areas that I wanted to hike and explore and travel and kind of see if this was the community that was for me. And so I would pick a state and house sit, and that would become my home base. So I lived in houses most of the time while people were gone. And then I would go out and explore that neighborhood and interject myself into the community and say, this is where I want to live. I didn't get that much time in Fort Worth. I never did get a house sit in Fort Worth. So I stayed at a hotel for a few nights there. But I really liked kind of the suburb area of Fort Worth. But I never had fear. Like I got a flat tire. I got a screw in my tire in Alabama. And it never crossed my mind, oh, I don't have anybody to come bail me out. I was like, okay, I pulled over. I saw that I put as much air in that tire as I could. I found the tire shop, pulled up. There was like a 3-hour wait. I just looked at the guy and I said, I just have a screw in my tire. I'm traveling. I need to get back on the road. And he's like, oh, just pull right up. Put me in front of everybody. Fixed it right in front of the bay windows. Didn't even have to get out of my car. Didn't charge me. Was so sweet to me. And actually, come to think of it, Alabama was probably the state where I met the nicest people. People who went out of their way to help and support me. But everywhere I went, I never had fear. And I think it's because I'd spent so many years trusting myself. The fears always came with external things. Like I knew I had to go from Magnolia Beach to McKinney, which is in the Dallas area. And I knew it was going to take a lot of money and a lot of gas, and I didn't have it at the time. And I just trusted, and I did what intuition told me to do, and I made a bunch of money, and I moved on and went on with my life. And so those kind of things, but those things kept happening over and over until I was like, okay, I'm not going to worry about this anymore. I'm not going to focus on the thing that I don't want to happen, because what you focus on expands. What you focus on you create. And so more and more when I just was like, okay, this is a shitty circumstance. You got to feel the emotions that come up, but then you don't set up camp there. You feel it, you acknowledge it, then you got to move on and go, okay, this is a shitty circumstance. It's not what I want. So let me focus on what I do want. Let me focus on something that is going well. Let me focus on something I'm grateful for. Let me shift my energy. And that's something that we'll all practice. We all should be practicing, I should say, for the rest of our lives, right? All of these things are just practices in self-awareness. So does anybody have anything that they are struggling with or need guidance on or help on that they want to talk about while you have me for a little bit longer? In the times right now for the calls, if you are interested in collaborative soul in the group mentorship and support, right now I have the calls set to every other Thursday, starting on, I think it's the 18th, from 12 to 2 Eastern. And then this one Saturday call in between in case we've missed anybody. It's kind of an extra call, just if somebody didn't, maybe one day someone needs an hour of the 2-hour call, right? And other people didn't get seen that day. We have an overflow day. But if I have a bunch of people who are telling me that a different time works better, we can always adjust that. So it's not a static thing. Right now it's set for Thursday, 12 to 2, and then a Saturday call, which will determine the time. But you will have constant access to me via WhatsApp and even an app called Marco Polo, where you'll be able to hold space. We will hold space for you. Like, it's a place where you can share without, it's just a free share where you get to be listened to. It's not really a place for guidance. Sometimes we just need to share what's coming up for us and hear ourselves. So that's a question that I've already had, because I soft launched this through email already. And so one of the questions that I got was, what is the time of the calls? But know that this can be changed, but right now it's set to every other Thursday, 12 to 2. But good question. I had my first panic attack this morning. Oh, I'm sorry. That sucks. I thought I was at a place where I controlled my nervous system. Where you were in control. Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. That's not, in my opinion, that's this what happened is not a bad thing. It's just showing you where you still need to strengthen yourself, where you still need to strengthen your belief in yourself, and where an area of your life where your nervous system can still be rocked. And here's the thing, I don't believe we will ever come a day where we won't have something that triggers our nervous system. And I could be wrong, but I don't personally believe that we will get to a space where we're never triggered again, or we never go into fight or flight, or we never freeze, or we never people please. I don't think that that's really a thing. I think we know the spot that you really want to be in and strive to be is that you can self-regulate. So you notice, oh, you have a panic attack. You're like, okay, this is a spot where I need to strengthen my nervous system, and I need to strengthen my ability to regulate my nervous system, to regulate my emotions. Maybe there's an emotional attachment or emotional investment in that thing, where maybe there's an identity in whatever that is. Oftentimes when we're triggered by things or like that, there's an identity attached, right? So if this thing goes wrong, or we don't receive that, or someone judges, or whatever the case may be, right? There's an identity we're taking it personally. So to me, that's a gift to you to go, okay, this is somewhere where I need to look and be a little bit more observant and go, is there an identity attached here? Is there something within this that I need to believe in myself more, or have more faith in myself? Is there a boundary that I need to place? And so it's just showing you where there's a hole or a leak, and it's giving you an opportunity to do the work to repair it. Is there different energy? Is there different energy coming to the planet? I wouldn't say different. It's just more intense. So it is a different frequency. It's a higher frequency than we've ever had before. But we're going through collectively what is known as a convergence. And so a lot of people are kind of trial by fire, or having things, their life either starting to fall apart, things going wrong, lots of loss. There's people that are really sick. Like there's a lot of people that are just kind of going through some things right now. And it's because you're being pushed into a frequency that's on the planet. I wouldn't say push. They say that's not a good word. The frequency that's coming into the planet is causing all of those things to be exposed. And we have to take personal responsibility for those things and take ownership and make peace with them, integrate them, become one with them. No longer fear them, no longer be resistant to them, accept them. Accept them about you. If you don't like it, make the changes and adjustments and be the person that you know you are to be or want to be. But that's why, I always say, like, the reason why there's so much darkness on the planet today and so many things are being exposed all of a sudden is because there's so much light. The more light we have on the planet, the higher the frequency of the planet, the more darkness is exposed. And same thing personally. The more you open your heart, the more light you allow to emanate from your body, the more things inside of you that no longer serve you will be exposed to you. And if you're not listening, if you're not paying attention to what those things are, then they have to manifest externally. This is where you lose jobs, relationships, money, get sick, whatever the case, right? I had them all because I really wasn't listening. But if you listen, you can prevent the external things from happening and you can make those internal adjustments. But I didn't, and I needed them to be shown to me outside of me. I had to physically work them out. I couldn't internally work them out. And so my life just played out that way. But yeah, and the frequency on the planet is going to continue to increase. I talk about this a little bit in my podcast on the episode of 2024. If I remember correctly, and guides, please help me if I get this wrong, but 24, 25 are transition years. 24 mainly. 25 will be more of when we'll start to see more of the physical transition, probably the second half of 25, where we actually start to see the manifestation of new way of doing things. 26, 27, 26 really, 26 through 30 is when we're going to see the most, probably 27 through 30, it feels a little bit more aligned. We're going to see the most change collectively in the way that the world operates, the way that we operate. There's going to be a lot of big changes and shifts. And then the other thing, which some people love it and some people get weirded out by it, but we're multidimensional. And we live in obviously a multiverse. And so kind of like Men in Black style, it's not going to look like that. That was kind of blown out of proportion a little bit, but we will start to have real physical interactions with other races. And so by 2030 at the latest, that will start to happen. And so they're waiting. When I say them, I mean the other races, right? Other galactic beings. And they're waiting until that time, because that's the alignment they see where we will most be in our power. So again, it comes back to where I started, which is in order for us to be able to stand in our power and to not be rocked by fear, we have to first believe in ourselves and have faith and trust ourselves and trust our intuition and our knowing if this person, this being, this energy, this job, this relationship, this location, if they resonate with us, instead of listening to outside sources like the government or your friends or your family who want to tell you some other story about who they are and what that's going to do to your life. And so for these things to happen, that's why the guides are so focused on. People's main focus has to be on believing themselves, having faith in themselves, trusting themselves, listening to their intuition, instead of letting outside influences dictate or alter or change or make them have doubt. Because remember, anywhere you defend yourself is showing you where you have doubt in yourself. Anywhere where you want to people please instead of honoring you, again, you have doubt in yourself. You don't believe you're worthy. You don't believe in choosing you. So everything is showing us where our leaks and cracks are. I don't know if that answered your question, but that's what I felt to share. But I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come in the world. I think it's only going to get better. I think we're still going to see, especially this year, we're going to see some more weird shit. But I think that, I think it's all going to be for the best. Yeah, definite shift for the positive. And some people, 2024 is not going to be a positive year. Because again, if you haven't been listening to the nudges to move, to leave, to start, to do this, to do that, to change a habit, to change a belief, then they have to start altering your external reality to get your attention. The same way, like when you're not listening intuitively to what your body's telling you, then you manifest, throwing your back out or getting sick or something, right? If you need rest and you're not resting, you're like, I'm going to push through. Guess what? Eventually, it's going to manifest as sickness. Why? Because you won't listen. And before it destroys you, it's going to shut you down. The same way it did to me. I had no choice but to lay in bed half the day because I literally couldn't freaking move. So we don't want it to get that way. But some people, and I was one of those people, need it to play out externally. And so not everybody's going to have a good year. Not everybody's going to choose to stick around on this planet. So there's going to be some weird shit that happens. But if you want to be in charge of your personality, your personal reality and your life and how that's dictated, it starts with the internal game. And that's what I want to be here to support. I want to help cultivate those women who, and I love the men, I love my male followers, but I really feel called to work with women on this group thing. But I feel called to be of service and to support and to guide and to mentor the women who are like, I'm fucking all in. I'm all in on me. I'm all in on trusting and having faith in me and having my own back and not letting outside anybody or anything change my direction, what I believe about myself. I'm all in on me. I'm all in on me. You are the mountain. You are the Holy Grail. Everything that you're seeking is seeking you, but it's all within you. And this is where I am. And this is where I choose to support. And it's a little bit of a different direction that I've gone into in the past, but this is mastery. This is self-mastery, multidimensional mastery. It's saying there's all these realities and all of these different versions of me. You already have seen them throughout the years, the different versions of you. And it's you choosing to come into that mastery of going, like method acting, right? What is the role of the lifetime that you want to play? Let's create that. Let's embody that. Let's become that. Let's stand in our power. Let's walk into a room and knowing our light is so bright and watching all the heads turn and look at us, not because we're seeking attention, but because our power and our light and our energy is so big and so prominent because we're so confident in ourselves that people can't help but to look. They can't help to look. When you see a woman walk into a room elegantly, confidently, it doesn't matter what her body looks like. It doesn't matter what she's wearing. Us women, we know. When another woman walks in who is confident and strong in themselves, our heads turn and we look at them and we go, wow. Sometimes that can intimidate us or even trigger us. But it's all an inner energy. So you can have the best body and be a supermodel looking self. You can have all the money, but if you walk into a room and you're insecure, people are going to sense it. So it's time that we realign our security and become interdependent. Honestly, my fear right now is getting into a relationship. I want a relationship, but they're now competing with me. They're not competing with another guy. They're not competing with what I have versus what they have. I don't really care. And it's funny because most of the men that I'll start talking to, they're like telling me I have this and I have this and I have that. I'm like, good for you. I don't have anything. But you're still competing with me because I am very comfortable in my routine, who I am, how I am, how I spend my time. And so if you can't match that or be better than that, I'm not going to give my attention to you. It's not going to work. So they're now competing with me. And that's the twinge of fear, is that I will self-abandon for love again. But I know that I won't, because I fell in love last year with somebody that I was dating, and I still walked away because I knew it was what was right for me. Because I knew I deserved better, because love is just not enough. Effort, words matching actions, um, reciprocity. I'm someone who has overgiven my whole entire life. I love to give. Acts of service is one of my love languages. And I love to be of service to people. I love to help. I love to give. And sometimes I overgive. And then I abandon myself. And so I've learned that the moment I feel resentful or angry about anything, that's telling me that I have overgiven, or that I'm doing something that I don't want to do. And so I'm really good at listening to that now and then making adjustments. Higher self trying to nudge you to move. Are you asking me if your higher self is trying to nudge you to move? Do you feel called to move? Is that what you're saying? I knew deep inside of me that I was gonna be leaving or moving before I ever really consciously contemplated it. Like, there was always a part of me that was like, oh, I wonder if I could leave this or whatever. But then there was just this knowing. There was this knowing inside of me that I was going to be leaving. Every time I was getting ready to move locations, like big locations, like when I moved from San Diego to North Carolina, when I moved from North Carolina, when I left my husband, I had that knowing. When and it was before I even thought about divorcing him, because I remember I was looking out. We had this big, huge field in our backyard, and that's where I had my coffee. And I remember hearing in my head, because I'm very clairaudient, you're going to miss this. And I thought, why would I miss this? Are we moving? And I thought, oh, we are moving, but it was me who was moving, right? Same thing when I left North Carolina. Before I even decided to do the nomad life, or that I was even thinking about leaving North Carolina, I rode my bike down to the waterfront, to the ocean, and I was sitting there, and I did this almost every day. And I heard the same thing. You're going to miss this. And I thought, uh-oh, I'm getting ready to leave again. So that's my question to you. Is it a knowing inside of you that you feel like you're being nudged to move? Because another thing the guides always say, you're never asking for validation, you're asking for permission, right? You're wanting to confirm something that you already know. So how does that feel? How does moving come to you? How is that coming in for you? Because your intuition is always going to be a soft, quiet, subtle voice. It's usually going to come in incomplete sentences, and it's not going to make logical sense. Your ego, on the other hand, will be very loud. It will be logical. It will make sense. And it doesn't always come in the nicest voices. So, and depending on how your intuition speaks to you, if it's a feeling, if it's a knowing, if you hear it audibly in your head, like, in your own thoughts, how does your intuition speak to you? Do you have visions? Really, you have to master how your intuition speaks to you, and then you can discern between the two. Most people know, though. I feel like you know. We just don't jump when our intuition speaks, because we're human and we have a lot of fear, and change is uncomfortable. The snow falling is so pretty. So pretty. Rachel Burkhardt. I don't know. I rarely ever see anybody with the last name Burkhardt. That's crazy. Funny story. Totally random. I'm in North Carolina and want to see some snow here. I wonder if I can turn my camera around. I don't know if I know how to do this. Can you turn your camera around while you're live? Does anybody know? Oh yeah, hold on. Okay. Sorry, Facebook, you won't be able to do this, but let me flip the camera. There's the snow. Isn't it pretty? I'm upstairs. All right, let me flip the camera back around. There we go. I used to want snow, but on the coast, it had to be the perfect setup to get it. But funny story, I was going to say, I just saw someone had popped on that had the same last name as me. That's actually how I met my third husband. We met on Facebook. I was married to my second husband. We were not in a good place, and I was doing Ancestry, and he popped up on Facebook. And we had the same. He had my mother's maiden name. My mother's maiden name is Burkhardt, and so I messaged him and asked him if we were related, if he knew my grandfather, and I never heard back from him. And then I got a divorce. And months later, after I'd left my second husband, he messaged me and he said, "No, I wish I was." And I said, "Why would you wish that?" And he said, "Because you're hot." And I said, "Again, why would you wish to be related to me then?" And then we both laughed and we became friends, and then we ended up dating. And obviously I moved to North Carolina to be with him. But yeah, we're not related. He's adopted, but he had the same last name as my mother. And so when I divorced him, I kept it because professionally, I'm an author. I've written books. I've been on podcasts. I've been in magazines. No, I didn't want to rebrand myself and my name. So I just kept it. Random funny story. It's a cute story, but it's what it is. I love watching the snow fall. I love nature. So beautiful, so peaceful. Does anybody have any questions about Collaborative Soul, the group mentorship, 3-month experience? Does anybody have any questions about that? Or do you have any questions where you also need guidance on something? Because I don't think anybody needs another digital course right now or group program. I think what we need is support and like-mindedness and someone to share wins with and ideas to bounce off other people and places where we're surrounded by people who build us up and help us to create the reality that we want, and support us in all the ways that go with that. I think that's what we need most right now. And I know that I do give a lot of support other ways too. So if that doesn't work for you, just know I have so many resources available for everybody at every different part of their journey. So if you are someone who resonates with me and you want to be a part of my network, there's a resource available to help you at any level. Just know that. And if you end up having a question later on about Collaborative Soul, please feel free to DM me or email me, and I'll be sure to answer. One last question I would like to offer you guys. My word for 2024 is stability, because I want to have roots and wings. So I want to find a location. I want to get my own place again and anchor down instead of dragging all my stuff with me everywhere. What is your word? This word is going to be the energy that you want to embody by the end of the year. So come next New Year's Eve, you can look back and go, did I embody this? So last year, my word was joy. And I honestly forgot what my word was. But when the memory came up, I was like, oh my God, I actually had more joy in 2023 than I've had in probably 10 years of my life. So I was like, it works. It's like setting the destination in your GPS. So for mine is stability, simplify. I like that. Come back to basics, right? That's what simple is to me. Just come back to basics. We overcomplicate shit. We overcomplicate things. I think the human likes to do that. It likes to overcomplicate things. Oh. Let's see here. I'm going to follow you back, Lori. Okay. Well, if we have no questions about collaborative soul or anything else, please know that the links are all either in the broadcast itself or on my profile. If you feel guided to join us, I would love to have you. Oh, thank you. 6 people. I'm only taking 6 people. This is not going to be a see how many people we can fill in. I want to make sure that you, every single person who is a part of this, feels like they are part of a sacred mentorship. I want them to have that feeling. If I have more than 6 people, I'm not sure I'll be able to give everybody the attention and the support that they need. And so this first round is going to be only 6 people. And if you decide, like, let's say you do all 3 months and you're like, you know what, I could do 3 more months, you will be locked in at today's prices. So when I do this again in 3, I'll probably take a couple of weeks off and start another round. The price will change. So that's how I always do it. The price changes as we evolve and grow. And so you will be locked in at this price. And if I feel like I can support more or I bring on another coach to help, then I can add more people. But I think 6 is a good number right now. What's the price for mentorship? So of this program, this is a group mentorship. It is $1,200 or 6 payments of $220 or something like that. And again, that is 2-hour call every other Thursday and a 2-hour call on one Saturday each month for 3 months. It gives you access to any content that I've already created. So if there's like, let's say you want to learn energy management, or you want to develop your clairs more, or you want to learn mediumship, and you're like, that is my main focus of what I want to work on, then I'll say, you know what, then you need access to the Energy Matrix. The Energy Matrix is a $1,500 course. But while you're in mentorship, not after, but while you're in it, you will get access to that material. And then you also have the benefits of private mentorship, which is having that chat, that open line of communication where you can message me, message the group. It is a group chat. And then you have the Marco Polo support to be seen and heard. Oftentimes when we're struggling with something, we don't really want advice. We want someone to hear us. And so I found that using Marco Polo is a great way to allow someone to share what's going on with them and just be seen and heard and not judged. But if you need guidance, you can ask in the WhatsApp support chat. So you'll get all of that. All the calls are recorded. And so you'll come, in the call, the guides might have something small to say in the beginning, but then the floor turns to you. I'm here to listen, to be of support and guidance, to connect to your personal team, use my own personal experience too. And we mentor. And if I always find that the right 6 people, that's why this isn't just, I'm just not asking anybody to join this. The right 6 people will come together, and those 6 people will have a common theme or a common resonance where they will all benefit from hearing other people's guidance and hearing other people's stories. And they will feel a part and connected to a community, and they'll develop the whole point of this is to develop that sacred connection of relationship where you can learn to be vulnerable and to let shame, the stories that bring you shame and guilt, to be seen without judgment. And that's what heals it, So group mentorship for this program is $1,200. Private mentorship, just me and you, that's $4,000. And that's a 6 month. So we'll be together for 6 months. And we have a call every other week. I enjoy your lives. Thank you so much. Happy New Year. Oh, thank you, Lori. I appreciate that. Yeah. So if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to DM me. If you have trouble DMing me, on TikTok. You can email me, johanna@johannaburkhardt.com, or find me, DM me through Instagram, whatever. You can, if you are on Facebook or YouTube, you can comment on the live replay, or you can, again, DM me. But we will start January, I believe it's January 18th. It is a Thursday. I will close enrollment the weekend before, and I'll put more posts about that. But if you have questions or it feels called to you, just read it over, sit with it. And if it's for you, you'll know, and then we'll get together. But I appreciate all of you guys who've hopped on here live and joined me and interacted. You guys had great topics. We had great conversations. I'm so grateful. I hope you guys all have an amazing new year. And I will see you on the other side. Bye for now.